Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. This is Mahmoud, and I'm a pleasure to welcome you all to this panel discussion. It will be focusing on angel investment in order to identify areas of potential opportunities for SMEs, especially in the current situation, and as well as to raise awareness of the angel investment and its importance in developing the Qatari economy. We are just going to wait for 2 more minutes till all the audience joining us. And then inshallah, we will be starting with you. During the panel discussion, you will be able to ask the questions to the panelists. Just please specify if you have any question. Try to specify to whom exactly, so we will be able to direct this question to the panelists. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. At the outset, I am pleased to welcome Mr. Abdulaziz bin Nasser Al Khalifa, the CEO of Qatar Development Bank, who will honor us to deliver the introduction speech. Mr. Abdulaziz.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salamu ala ashraf al-mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Thank you, Mahmoud. I am honored to be with you and among friends and colleagues to be speaking to you today about angel investment and the importance of angel investment for us at Qatar Development Bank and Qatar in general. Of course, at Qatar Development Bank, we work extensively with entrepreneurs, small and medium enterprises, private sector, to ensure that there is access to finance. For us, it's one of the challenges that normally startups would face in converting their ideas into projects. Working with access to finance, making us wants to ensure that different venues and different means of access to finance is normally available. One of them is through equity. And within Qatar Development Bank, we've been active, especially in the past 3 to 4 years. My dear colleague and friend Mohammed Al-Imadi, who's with us on the call, is actually heading our angel investment activities within QDB. And in the last 3 to 4 years, we've been active in ensuring that small and medium enterprises and startups can gain access to equity through our venture capital arm. Now, having said that, we have $100 million, 365 million Qatari riyal invested in small and medium enterprises and startups, focusing mainly on technology and companies that can add value locally. Doing that, we also are catering for the angel investors in the country and trying as much as possible to stimulate angel investment among locals and Qataris. In the last, we do understand dearly the importance of angel investment, and from our perspective, it's more around mentorship and the support that those angel investors would be able to provide for startups. Of course, the cash, which is always good to have, the longevity that they would be able to provide for startups and companies. We've seen that during, I'm sure that my colleagues, the panelists, will be able to provide you with a lot of statistics, which you can also Google them and find them. But normally, the survival rate of companies who have angel investments is by way far better than companies that start without angel investments. Providing this, and I would call it the grandfathering type of network. Angels normally would find a way to create the network for startups, and will always, almost for sure, that would play a part within their investment methodology. to ensure that they provide access for those startups and companies is also what we're looking for. We've been active in the last 3 years in training angels. I think 3 or 4 training courses that we provided for the locals on how to become angel investors. We've cooperated with international renowned angel investment networks to ensure that we can actually help to transfer that know-how and that knowledge locally. One of our friends also, Selma, she will be speaking on that front. From our perspective, we believe that until today, we still face challenges. Normally, in fairly developed ecosystems for angel investors and venture capital, you would find a clear definition for angel investors, and there will be a regulation around angel investment, which is not yet quite the picture here in Qatar, but we're moving steadily towards that direction. So I was asked by my colleagues to keep this brief. I'm trying to keep it as brief as possible. From Qatar Development Bank perspective, we want this community to exist. We want to enhance the accessibility that they could have to the startups. Hence our effort within Qatar Business Incubation Centers. I think among the 30 or 35 companies that we've invested into, almost 12 to 13 of them had angel investors. Angel investment is very important. We're doing all what we can to ensure that angels do exist. They gain access to information. They gain access to the deal flow that we have within our business incubation centers and different means and venues. We're working hand in hand with the regulators to ensure that there will be a better system in place for them to invest. We understand the value that they bring to the table. This is why Marwan, also a dear friend, is with us on this call, where they're setting up the first angel investment network in Doha. We believe that this makes a lot of sense, and we want to support it further as Qatar Development Bank. Thank you, Mahmoud. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulaziz, for all the information that you provided to us. But if I may ask you only one thing to add, currently at Qatar Development Bank, what are let's say, the main focus for now for Qatar Development Bank in, let's say, investment ecosystem? Where is the focus for now, and what is let's say, the future that you are looking for to achieve?
Mahmoud, we can't speak about now without speaking about the COVID-19 impact. And currently, we believe that the private sector, the SMEs, are going through or will go through 3 phases. There is a survive phase, there is a revive phase, and there is a drive phase, or a survive and a revive and a thrive phase. And we believe that currently we're just getting out of the survive phase to go into revive. And different offerings that QDB is doing fit for different purposes. So currently we're focused on technology-driven companies that would be able to fill voids within supply chain, that would be able to help Qatari companies within the supply chain itself to hold the ground and to convert from conventional models, business models, and pivot into new business models that will make them able to survive. At the same time, we believe that there are great opportunities for investment currently from the private sector and from angels, where they will be able to support specific companies that from business principles, they hold the ground and their business models are solid, but due to the unforeseen situation that we're all into, they're not capable to continue due to the cash burn that they have. We're providing a lot of advice. I think on a weekly basis, we have either 4 or 5 training courses run virtually, where we're helping small and medium enterprises and entrepreneurs gain access on how to deal with their employees, how to deal with the market situation, how to optimize their cost. And if that could also be done through small and medium enterprises or startups, this is something we're supportive of. I'm sure that you followed and others have followed how we're trying to ensure access to information for all the startups and the companies. Back to the point of the angels, Mahmoud, this is an area where angels can play a big role in bridging smaller gaps for startups and entrepreneurs, and can provide them with wisdom around such times. Alhamdulillah, we're working hand in hand with the government. We're providing some support financially through the National Rescue Guarantee Program, working with the banks. At the same time, our venture capital fund and our that Ibrahim Hassan and his colleague Muhammad Al-Imadi are doing is to try as much as possible to provide the necessary cash for companies that are vital for our economy and vital for the supply chain to exist and flourish. Back again, it's a survive, revive, thrive phases that we will go through, and we're trying to cater for each phase with all necessary means that we can provide.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdulaziz, and for sure everyone can see actually all the initiatives that Qatar Development Bank are putting now and are trying to really help all the SMEs during this pandemic. Thank you very much again for this insightful introduction. And let me now introduce my panelists. So we have with us Selma. Selma, she is a co-founder and vice president of Austrian Angel Investor Association. She is board member of European Business Angel Network and a member of a Global Business Angel Network. Selma is also co-founder of investorinen.com and is a lead investor at Rising Tide Europe 1, impacting the next generation of female business angels. She was an investor in the Austrian startup TV show, 2 Minutes, 2 Million, which I would like you to give some more information about it. It seems, and she judged over 100 investment panels. Selma, we are very honored to have you with us today.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud. Merhaba to everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here and to be with you. And I'm really grateful for this invitation. And if I can, be of any insight to the development that you have. Obviously, that with the well, thank you very much. I don't know if you want to. Yes. Would you like to make the introduction round, right? Sorry, I already started. I was inspired by the keynote and I wanted to continue speaking.
Thank you very much, Selma. For sure, we will come back to you with all our questions. Yes. But let's move to Khalid Muhammad Bujassoum. And Khalid is a mission-driven entrepreneur who has accumulated well-rounded experience in building and running startups. ELS Labs Incorporation is the second startup that Khalid started following his win in Stars of Science regional competition. As the first Qatari to be crowned as the winner in the history of the initiative in 2012. ELS is a hardware tech startup building a smart cooking platform based on a novel electromechanical design combined with software and data. Today, ELS employs 14 full-time employees and has a presence in Qatar, Canada, and the United States. To date, Khalid was able to raise more than $4 million United States dollars in financing for the venture. And for sure, I think, Khalid, everybody wants to know how you generated all this amount. And he also has done business in Qatar, Canada, United States, and China. Welcome, Khalid, and it's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Thank you, Mahmoud. Shukran, and it's really an honor and a pleasure to be in this panel among Salma, Marwan, Abdulaziz, and Muhammad, and you, Mahmoud, hosting the discussion. Yes, investment is a big conversation. Angel investing is one very interesting vertical in investments. I'm happy to be in the panel and share our lessons learned and what we've experienced ourselves. Out of this 4 million, almost 1 million USD, almost 1 million came from angel investors in multiple rounds, which I'm very proud of. And we've definitely learned so much in the process. from angels and to angels, just sharing the experience itself. So I'll be happy to share the lessons learned and the insights we gained with the attendees and the rest of the panelists.
Thank you, Khalid. Moving to our third panelist, Mr. Marwan Mahmoud. Mr. Marwan, he is a founder and CEO of Musico, and he is a founding member of DTA, Doha Tech Angels. He spent many years working in the banking sector where he was exposed to early investment function, which exposed him to funds and IPOs from structure to implementation and risk management. Marwan also worked closely with Entire and Innovation during years at ICT Qatar, and later establishing the Innovation Theater and Kitcom. After attempting many times to establish an angel network, it was finally successful in 2018, and I can see the smile on your face, Mr. Marwan. So with establishment of Doha Tech Angels. We are very proud to have you with us, Mr. Marwan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. It is quite inspiring. The group around, Nasser, Ustad Khalid. We have been, and Salma, nice to meet you for the first time. I've heard a lot about you. We worked really hard to get to this stage. We have been working on this for almost 6 years. At various stages, we were too ambitious in the beginning, trying to establish a full venture capital fund, and we faced a gazillion problems. So we decided to, bring down our dreams a little bit and do something which is more manageable and that can be licensed in the environment. And this is when we established Doha Tech Angels. Khalid, I know I worked with you a lot on many things, and I learned a lot from what's going on with you. And I'm really looking forward to working with QDB Angel Effect, because I believe there needs to be a lot more of us, and there needs to be more participation in order for us to have a much more healthier startups that we select and we nurture. The question here is focus. Angels are small, and they need to focus. I hope I gave you, not too long of an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Marwan. And for sure, last but not least, we have Mohammed Al-Imadi, who is the head of angel investment at Qatar Development Bank, to enlighten us about all the initiatives that Qatar Development Bank are working on for investments. Mohammed, I think you are on mute.
Yes, this is the dilemma with the virtual. So thank you, Mahmoud, for the introduction, and thanks everyone for accepting the invitation and making it to the panel discussion. I'm honored to be here. We have very diversified experiences, in-depth experiences on the panel, and looking forward to it. Thank you, Mahmoud.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start our discussion, and we will start with you, Salma. We know that you are the board member of many angel investment associations, and you are the co-founder of Austrian Angel Investment Association. Based on this huge experience, what's the definition of the terminology of angel investment, and who are the angels? What do they do, and what are their characteristics?
Thank you very much, Mahmoud. It fits really well, and I think I'm looking forward to the discussion later on with Marwan on how to start the organization and about the dreams and how do you put all these things together. So yes, I'm the co-founder of the Austrian Angel Investment Association. We have launched and really started the organization in 2012. You can say on one hand it is very late, on the other hand it is very early, whatever you compare it to. But it was, there were several also attempts to start an organization, to really have a functioning organization. There were bits and pieces, but not really an organization that would bring everybody together under one umbrella. And this was really an important step that we have made. Just shortly, in my background, I've worked with startups. I'm myself an entrepreneur, and I worked constantly with startups, and then I realized that if I support these startups, and I've coached over 1,000 of them personally, if we support the startups, but they cannot get the money that they need, then it's just, you know, filling their dreams, but not really helping them to get there. So, and there was not a systematic approach to business angel investing in terms that there was a place where a startup could go to and, you know, say, okay, this is this is my startup. Can you help me? Do you want to invest in me? And so on. So it was just really looking at one or the other, constantly seeking and searching. It was a long way to get that. With the organization, with starting the Austrian Angel Investor Association, we suddenly had one place where the startups could go and then, you know, ask for funding or find their investors. And then the second thing that happened is that beyond the one organization, there was a number of other organizations that started, either investment clubs or really organizations or associations that have started. And today in 2020, we can say we have a really thriving ecosystem of business angels. To that, I must say that, you know, we were really in the situation when we started, we had to explain what is a business angel at all. The same situation we are here today. And even in ministries, people would not know. It was rather the way the business angels are investing today, the whole startup ecosystem, the way it is today compared to the, you know, startup ecosystem in the years 2000 is very different. The technological development that we are seeing allows it to be really cheap and fast to grow the startups in compared to earlier, but also the crisis that happened in the 2008 and 9 forced people and investors to seek other investment opportunities. And this is one of the ways how the business angel ecosystem also started, is that you had experienced entrepreneurs who suddenly met, you know, great entrepreneurs, a great startup, and say, oh, I want to be part of that. And this is very often how you start. You're excited about a team, you're excited about a product, you're excited about the opportunity, and that's how you start investing most of the time. So it's not something that you decide, oh, tomorrow I will be a business angel, but it's something that comes out of your entrepreneurial mindset. And what are business angels? Business angels give three sorts of capital. That is the big differentiation compared to classical investors. Business angels give financial capital, the money, clearly. They give this the human capital, which is the knowledge. Usually, a business angel invests only in parts that they understand and that they know, and they can contribute with the knowledge and the experience that they have. They contribute to the startup. And the third one is the social capital, which is the network. You know, call the CEO of this company or talk to that person, something that usually startups don't have. You have this experienced person that comes from that field, from that industry, and gives you these three sorts of capital. And in addition, and that is the big point, and that's why it's really helpful to startups, is they are entrepreneurs. They have this entrepreneurial mindset, and they really get involved and engaged. On a strategical level, it's not on an everyday basis, but on a strategic level, you want to have a business angel on board. You want them to be part of your board. And business angel come in at the very, very early stage. We will be talking about it, when and how do you invest, but it is really something that usually you have no numbers yet. Usually there is no proof of anything. It's just really starting, and it's about the gut feeling, which I say gut feeling has to do with many years of experience of seeing businesses succeed and fail, and that's how you get to know it. But there is one part which is believing that it can succeed, and the other part which is based on numbers. And this is really the important part, that this entrepreneurial engagement and involvement, you know, if I put my personal money into your startup, I am really interested that you succeed. And in comparison to putting money on the stock market, where I have no influence at all, with the startup, I know what's going on. I can help you do certain things, or I can see that things are not working so well. And that is why it is so different, the way angel investors invest. And they are part of this kind of first stage of investment after the friends and family part. Very often coming together with governments, together, or grants or other investment parts. And usually what you want to see is that you have a number of investor join your startup, or business angels join your startup with one lead investor, but that you have all that knowledge come in. This is basically you buying in mentorship, advisory, board members, and this is how it succeeds. And we have seen, as Abdulaziz has mentioned earlier, it's definitely, we know all the statistics show that the startups who have angel investors on board are much more successful than startups that don't, which is clear. I mean, if a startup or if founders don't have experience and you give them money, they don't know what to do with that money. But if you give them knowledge, a network, and money, then of course the chances are they will succeed better. And we have seen in the crisis also now the importance of business angels and business angel investors, and we've seen investors with governments, how to leverage the crisis and go over it and create measures to help startup survive go through the survive stage, and really help them thrive in that sense. I mean, I could be talking for the next three days, but let's go through to the next, and then
yes.
I'll come back.
Thank you, Salma. Marwan, if I can move to you now. Actually, as part of what I wanted to ask you, maybe partially Salma already answered, but I want to understand from your point of view, what is the main role for the angel investor?
Well, I think Salma answered a lot of that. But the way our angel network is maybe a little bit different, because maybe the angel investor profile that Salma mentioned is perfected around single angel network. So you're participating like 500 angels, and you can then sponsor a company and put a lot of money in it. Our model, unfortunately, cannot take that kind of ticket. So our ticket minimizes us to a small percentage in the company, which does not allow us to do some of the work that Salma has mentioned. So when we're participating with 2.5% to 1%, and sometimes we don't get even seats on the board, and we have very little to say. So we have two options here: either to upgrade it to a bigger ticket, which means we have to raise more money, and there you will face a lot of issues, or you actually work in a participation mode. So what we're trying to do now to bridge this gap and to meet a lot of what Salma mentioned, which is the perfect scenario, is for us to have more angel networks with us, to allow the ticket to be large enough for us to put influencers. In many cases, we ask for the business, for the companies, is we can't take you on board because we don't believe you're well structured. You don't have the right, business manager, technical manager scenario. You may be lacking one or the other. In normal angels, the angel would go in and help him out and help him hire. But in our case, we cannot do that, and we wish to be able to do that. So we focus more on companies that have already passed the MVP model and they are ready to commercialize. And that's really when we go in. And we go in not in the friends and family and not in the individual angels, but as an investor. The good thing about us also is we don't have any real staff. We are the staff. So all of us are I'm the least professional among them, of course. We have people with PhDs and entrepreneurs and people who have ran sophisticated banking functions as well. Those people give a lot of support in the process of selection and due diligence and thereafter investment. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. It was very clear. We have been receiving many questions, but please, whenever you say the question, try to specify who want to answer this question. Moving to you, Khalid.
Yes, ma'am.
To understand from your point of view, for sure you are one of the first Qataris who were able to raise the funds from angel investors. So what do you think the benefits of having an angel investor on board with you?
First, thank you, Salma and Marwan. I think you would make my answer easier by referencing what you've said. And I want to build on it based on the actual experience and maybe give some tangible examples. Again, it's the three things. It's the external validation that, okay, it's not just you on your own thinking about your idea. So the fact that you were able to convince early on, as Salma was mentioned and Marwan, is like, okay, you don't have much. It's your trust, people knowing you, knowing the team and knowing that you can deliver. They trust that you can deliver, and the data. So early on, there is no data. So having that external validation actually helps you get away from the personal bias that gets built into the practice, right? The second is really the expertise in the verticals. Luckily, one of our investors is actually versed. He's a legal counsel in a hedge fund. So imagine how many deals he has gone through. He's active on Angel List, very active on Angel List. So he brings a lot of insights when it comes to deal structures, looking at the climate of investment, and giving us feedback. We have other executives who are versed in their fields. So when it comes to hiring, operational challenges, I can literally pick up the phone and call them, listen guys, this is what we are trying to do. What do you think? So first you have this validation, so you don't have bias. The second is really the vertical expertise, where you can get feedback on what you do day in, day out. And you have this vast network where you can get all the data and information, and just capitalizing on that network, as Salma and Marwan mentioned. The third benefit is governance. Yes, early stage, there's no board seats, as Marwan mentioned, but overall you feel, as an entrepreneur, you feel, okay, listen, there is a responsibility. People have given me money, I owe them information. It sits you on the right track early on, thinking about reporting, thinking about financial bookkeeping and all these details, just in case you get asked. So it's a stepping stone towards proper governance in the corporation or in the venture. So these are the three points that Marwan and Salma kind of pointed out, and this is our experience with it. Really, I would love to mention and disclose the names of the investors, but they asked me not to. But literally, we couldn't have come to this stage where we are today, raising this much money and getting as close as launching the product. Maybe those who are following us, they know we actually have a fascinating technology that works, that tastes amazing, making food and freeing people to do something else where their amazing food is being prepared to the top standards as if a chef, professional chef is cooking. One extra point that I think from an entrepreneur's perspective is the simplicity of the transaction. Compared to actual, I would say, equity financing, angel investing is really simple in terms of execution. We raised all of our money through angel investments using SAFEs, Simple Agreement for Future Equity, which is the latest evolution of the technical document or the technical tool of convertible notes. In Arabic, السندات القابلة للتحول. SAFEs really makes it really easy and simple. It's an agreement, 3 pages. And for us, it was a huge learning experience, even with the angel investors that we got on board. I mentioned that we have a very versed investor who's active on Angel List. He has a portfolio of 10 plus companies, but we also have first-time investors who actually went through the experience, and it was educational for both of us to just explain to them why this transaction is made in this way. How does the SAFE agreements work? Why do you delay the valuation and push it to the equity investment event, and why it makes sense? So an advantage from entrepreneur's perspective, in addition to the 3 that Salma and Marwan mentioned, is really the simplicity of the transaction, because it's, especially at the early days, you want to focus on execution, not much on, okay, what is the valuation, what is the equity? I see questions around equity, and we can elaborate more later in the discussion, but that's kind of an extra point I would like to add from an entrepreneur's perspective, from experience, the simplicity of the transaction as an advantage.
Thank you, Khalid. I think now we have checked about investment from 3 different perspectives, and so I think now it's your turn, Mohammed, to enlighten us about the main, since Qatar Development Bank is a main player in the SME ecosystem in Qatar. So how does QDB contribute to the early stage ventures?
Well, allow me, Mahmoud, I think, just to cover what we are doing in QDB once again, I mean, we do cover the whole journey, I would say, of the entrepreneur from the idea stage till he is able to deliver his product or service to the local market or international market. So we see our role as investment, as a venture investment fund, comes after the incubation and acceleration process of the ventures. We actually do a lot of incubation and acceleration program in QDB here through our ventures, whether it's Qatar Business Incubation Center or QST, Qatar Sports Tech, or the recent FinTech Incubation and Acceleration Program, which was launched 3 weeks ago, I guess. And so that usually we attend the demo days, we as an investments, targeting the companies that graduate from these programs. Just to clarify, it's not limited to these programs, but this is one of our main platforms for investments. So we try to play the role here of connecting the entrepreneur after graduating from his incubation or acceleration program to his next stage of a scale-up or a growth. So we try to play the role of connecting the entrepreneur from his first step as an SME or as a company that's looking for a scale up, and connect him with the stage of where he can go and ask for investment from institutional investors. This is one of our programs that we do, which is the SME investment program. We also, as investment, do invest actually in international funds. We do have a fund programs. We have a good number of funds that we invested in. We invest on the funds and with the objective also to ensure that there is a very close collaboration between us as Qatar Development Bank and those funds. We see the synergies between us. Most of the funds also, some of them actually in the process of opening up their offices in Qatar. Here, one of them actually registered in Qatar recently, last week. So we ensure that also we engage with the international partners to exchange knowledge and experience, and also to give our entrepreneur a platform for an access to capital. It's either through these funds or through our incubation centers, as I mentioned, or through our different programs and forums that we have done. I mean, maybe some of you have attended our investment forum that we conducted. We conducted one in 2019, and we conducted also another one in 2018. We have many companies who attended these forums, got investments from angels. So we had 2 in 2019 raised fund from this platform. We also give an access to the deals also through our investment series, which is in collaboration with our accelerator and incubator. And we do also give them an access through our demo days. So for the way forward, actually, we have been now working heavily on empowering the SME and the ecosystem. Our forward looking is actually to also empower and encourage the individual investors in the ecosystem. We do believe that they play a very important role, especially that angel investors are usually the bridge from the early stage for the companies to the stage of institutional investors and venture capital. Why is that? I think the colleagues covered it earlier, but I think it's important to have angels on board because it's not only for the capital. I mean, usually the angels will provide you the access, to the capital, will provide you the access to the network. They will provide you the access to the information and experience. In Qatar here, we have seen many successful businesses, many successful business owners who have a very wide experience and diversified experience. And we are sure once we have these individuals investing in the startups, they can add a lot of value. They can ensure the governance of these ventures, and by ensuring the governance of the ventures, you will ensure the sustainability of the ventures. There are many stories where many ventures and small startups are.
Mohammed, I'm sorry to interrupt you. For sure, we have lots of more questions that to ask you, but let me, I thank you all for the information that you provided, but let me move to Selma. Selma, you have established the Austrian Angel Investment Association in 2012. What was the changes in the investment community and the impact, and how they enforced and foster the culture? And please try to make it very short because we are running out of time. You are on mute, Selma.
I forgot. Thank you very much. Yes, I think this was very important to change, really, to build the ecosystem. We had the situation, as I mentioned earlier, where it was single business angels here and there. What we have created when we started the association, we provided for the members to join and to be part of the association. We needed to provide, one, the diversity of the network. So it's cool for you to meet the others so that you have a reason to meet the other business angels. The second thing was the consistency of our meetings. So really we made sure that we had meetings every month so people would come. We made sure the quality of the members, so we would check all the members before they came and became members of the association so that we have a high quality of membership in there. And we shared the same values where it is really the importance of learning, and we called it really where experience meets opportunity. Investing into a startup is very different than investing into a regular company. Startups are these exponentially growing companies, and they have totally different ways of how you deal with how much investment they need. It is very different, and it's important to understand, and this is what part of the work we have done, is to understand that somebody who's moving into investing into startups, no matter how successful business person you are, no matter what kind of investments you've done earlier, you need to understand better how the startup investing ecosystem works and what is needed from you. So it is this education or this knowledge sharing, however you want to call it. The second thing is, as Marwan was mentioning, the amount of money, in average, a business angel invests only about 25,000 euro per investment. Yeah? So it is not a big sum, but usually you invest with other people, and it's a co-investment syndicate version. And there, to be able to do that, to have more investors coming together, you need to have an equity. So basically, only if you take these two things, and then of course we had, we were working towards our government to change the incentives, governmental incentives for investors to invest, and networking. The point is that at the moment when we started, people didn't even know what is a business angel. Today, we can say that we, over 100 million euro have invested because we have invested into these startups, and we provided them with other additional capital that came, which is a big thing that came. And especially, as I said, in the COVID crisis, we've seen that business angels have had a crucial role in saving the existing startups, their existing investments, where the government didn't have to do that much, or at least was just a part. So having an organized ecosystem and enables more money to be invested and more startups really to grow and thrive. It is really crucial to not really have an organization or more organizations, or to have a ecosystem working.
Thank you, Selma. No, I think such information will be even helpful for the investment here in Qatar or anywhere in the world, to be honest, to have this such a community that can provide a group of investors to invest in the startups.
I'm sorry, I just want to say, I've really been building communities and networks, an ecosystem, and this is my expertise, and there are ways how you can do it, but it's really important to understand that you have to do certain steps to make it happen.
That's why we are having you here with us to to know more about your experience in establishing angel investors. Moving to Khalid. Khalid, what are the challenges facing entrepreneurs finding the right angel investor?
Okay. I think to be able to answer this question, it's important to just refer back to the idea of trust. At the early stage, your investment and the deal is really evolving around trust. Trust in the team that they can deliver and trust in the data. Early stage, you don't have data. So I would say the main challenge is building that trust and accessing the network. Now, I would split the challenge. Like if we establish that trust is important, I would split the challenge to local and global kind of investments. The beauty of angel investments is you can go global. Today with AngelList as a platform, you can literally find investors from anywhere based on the sector you are in and how you approach it. But locally, I think the challenges in building the know-how and the understanding of the importance of angel investment and what kind of what kind of investment is angel investments. I remember in the early days, luckily again, there was some credibility established because of the Stars of Science story. And then that kind of got us to the first deal that we closed. Again, I was lucky that I know somebody who used to be my school friends. We know each other for 15 plus years. And he kind of led the syndicate or the deal at the time. He already knows investments and the group kind of trusted him, although we had some people who were first timers. But as I was scouting throughout my network, people that I know, that they trust me, they came back and told me, but wait, man, we are flipping around real estate, literally. So I talked to someone who works with 5 people flipping real estate at the time. I'm talking about 2014, 2015. And he said, man, our return is around 10% over 2 years. So we get a piece of land, we build it, we sell it as a house. And this is our return, like 5 to 10%. Like, why would we put the money in Oliver and at the time Tahi? And I was like, okay, you know what? He's not the right investor. And it takes education. On the other hand, I found people who really wanted to get into this. So they would sit down and we'll go through the safe agreement. I'll send them articles and they'll send me questions and we kind of go through the process. So education at the local level, I think. At the global level is access. Access to investors and building those networks. So it's really great to have Salma around here, and Marwan spoke earlier about the attempt in Doha to build a network and looking at the DTA executives, they have a global network. And how can you access that? And my advice to entrepreneurs when it comes to that challenge, I think AngelList is a huge tool. It's still mysterious in many ways. Although it's been around a decade now, they introduced the concept of syndicates. People are raising $1 million plus through syndicates now, just elaborating on what Salma was pointing to and alluding to. It's a huge money, but again, it's really understanding that it's built around trust and educating ourselves on what kind of investments is suitable for angel investing. And it's very challenging. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of education, especially when we talk about the local ecosystem in Qatar and in the overall MENA region, from both ends, the entrepreneur side and the investor side. So how can you foster the trust is key. And then we can elaborate so much on the local challenges and the global challenges. But as I mentioned, I think the most prominent ones is one, education at the local education and awareness at the local level, and at the global is connectivity and network. And hopefully QDBs with their efforts and DTA and Selma's spearheading the association in Europe, is that hopefully would foster a larger network to access angel investors, because it's global. Literally today you can get that expertise from everywhere, anywhere in the world. And this is a good example. We are talking, everyone, I'm in Canada, she's in Austria, right, Salma? And you guys are in Doha, and God knows how many participants are coming from around the globe.
Thank you, Khalid. Marwan, actually, Khalid, he mentioned some of the attributes that, let's say, angel investors are looking into the startups or the SMEs. So from your point of view, what are the parameters you consider when investing in an entrepreneur and startups. You are on a mute, Marwan.
Fine. Number one, we look for innovation and whether the startup could be entering an area of disruption that has already been tested. So we have a lower chance of failure and a much better chance of estimation. The other area is disruption where it was not tested. So areas which are high risk, but if there is enough business model that convinces us that this startup could take off, we would be also willing to look into that. We work also very closely with the local ecosystem. So we work with QSTP, we work with Qatar Development Bank, of course, with QBIC. We work with MOTC for their digital incubation center. And I'm running out of memory to remember all of the ones we have. So we have a good growing level of incubation centers, which really helps the entrepreneurs to reduce their risk and also helps us not to worry about the basics. So the basics have already been looked at by professionals. And that brings them a much success rate. So if they come out from one of those incubation centers, they immediately are eligible to pitch. So we don't even let them go through the pipeline. And that's really what we try to do. Because going through the pipeline is an evaluation process that is much more complicated. So those guys get what we call handicap points. If you play golf, whatever tennis you play, that part helps us a lot to get things in order. The third part, which you all allude to, and we are very careful about, is the transaction structure. The trust is all about fairness. If the entrepreneur provides the transparent information that we ask for, we need to work on a deal that does not break them. We have to work on something which helps them, to make them stronger, and to give them access to more capital. So the presence of anchors, the presence of some experience, co-promoting the investment, that's also something we do. So we get an investment, we share it around the community. Some of those communities are in India, some of them are in the US, some of them are in Canada. We have a few now. So that really helps us to bring in a structure which is more fair. What we have an issue with is who leads the transaction at the end. Transaction leadership gives the negotiation power to the transaction closure. And so we're like, we're hanging with this transaction. If it's big enough, so we're directly working with them. If it's not, we're hanging. So the leader of this transaction needs to have a very strong role in structuring something fair for the entrepreneur and for the investors.
You are on mute now, Mahmoud.
Thank you very much, Marwan. Mohammed, I think we have listened to the Austrian experience in that space, and also Marwan and Khalid point of view about investment. So as a QDB investment function, what are your reflections, and do you think such experience can be transform the ecosystem in Qatar?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Mahmoud. I think learning from different experiences is really valuable. We want to start to do this now. As Salma spoke, it's a whole ecosystem. It's an integrated process. So I think once we have such an experience here in Qatar, we will have more, I would say, filterized ventures that are scalable at the local and international level. So to answer your question, yes, I think the experiences of any ecosystem that empowered the early stage investments will be looked at and can be transferred. I mean, if we look at the investment, we look at the whole ecosystem, Mahmoud. We don't look at the individual investors. We don't encourage them to go and invest, but without understanding what is the angel investment process, or what is the early stage investment process. So We at QDB are looking now from investors' sides, not from I covered the SME side, but now from the investment side, we are looking first of all to raise the awareness about the concept of early stage investments, which angel investment is part of it, and also in the future we'll also be working on building the capability of the ecosystem, of the investors' ecosystem, to ensure that we do have actually an angel investment community that is able to invest, that's able to govern the venture, that's able also to ensure the sustainability of the ventures. And I'm sure with this process, we will see completely different way, or you will see more scalable ventures coming out of the process or out of the pipeline. And next step, you will see more institutional investors who are having appetite also to come and invest on those ventures. And by linking these ventures to institutional investors, you are giving them an access to go global with their technology, with their idea, and with their innovative ventures.
Thank you, Mohammed. Khalid, coming back to you again, we know that there is a big hesitation in the entrepreneur's mind, shares equity and having angel investor to partner with them, and instead they go for direct lending. So what's your comments on that?
So again, I think to be able to answer this question, we need to get, and I get it a lot from entrepreneurs, to be honest with you. A lot of entrepreneurs reach out and we talk about, okay, sharing experience, and they're just starting. And to me, I think the first question that entrepreneurs need to answer so that we can get our head around this topic is, what kind of a company are you building? Is it a 10x, 100x, a 25x kind of company? It's going to be a 100 million. Like, so the rule of thumb is it should be $100 million company to be able to think about angel investment and then taking the pathway of venture capital investments. At the end of the day, lending is a valid and proper financing tool, no doubt. But then when it comes to angel investments and given equity, you have to understand it's valid. Yes, absolutely, you want to keep as much as possible in terms of ownership, but do you want to get 1% of a $1 billion company, or do you want to take 100% of a $1 million company? So, and what kind of business? And some businesses are meant to be lifestyle businesses. It's okay not to take investment money. It's okay to go the lending route. It's fine. But then what kind of business are you building? And the $100 million is kind of the rule of thumb. And you have to do your math. You have to think about the business and the extrapolation of your finances and the projections so that you can really navigate this conversation. And I see when and when you get into, so if we establish this, okay, I understand my company now is a $100 million company. It makes sense for me to finance it through equity financing, going to angel investors because it's high risk, high return kind of business. Then, and this may be a good opportunity to answer one of the questions, like, okay, how much equity should I give away? And what makes sense, or what kind of control? I think a lot of mix-up happens between ownership and control. Those are two different things. Governance and control is different than ownership and how much people own and how much influence they have. It's two separate things. It's a baggage that we have from a kind of tradesman mentality and the merchant economy that people are bringing. So this is one point. The second, the simple agreement to future, like this is a proper problem. Like it's a valid problem. It's a valid question. Like, okay, wait, I don't know how much of the value of my company, we are too early, but it has this big potential. So that's why people have invented the tools like the SAFE, the simple agreement for future equity. It's deferring the valuation of the company to a later stage because the priority is really to validate if this business makes sense or not. And this is where the earlier comments from Salma and Marwan about trust, about what kind of metrics they look for and who's leading the round. And it's really safe and the tools for angel investing. So assuming that angel investing is right for you, then you should think about the bigger pie and the bigger vision. And don't worry about valuation. And the investor shouldn't worry about valuation to a certain extent, where the safe is really structured in a way so it protects both parties, especially at the early stage, because there's so much ignorance, so much unknown, so much uncertainty. And the safe is built for that. The simple agreement for, so there are tools. It's not just the process and the vector or the vertical of angel investing, but it's also, it comes with all its tools to fit. The question is, do you fit for angel investing or not? If you fit, then the conversation goes to a different trajectory now. So to be able to answer that question, Mahmoud, is we have to think, and I'm telling to entrepreneurs, I'm asking entrepreneurs, what kind of a company are you building? Is it a $100 million company or not? If not, don't waste your time. You should probably stop watching us and spend your time on something else and building your business. Maybe you have an amazing restaurant or an amazing service that you are providing, and you'd rather focus on that, because angel investing is not good for you. And maybe take a loan from QDB and go to their facilities and get their guarantees, as opposed to talking to Marwan or Salma to give you money. I'm telling you from experience, and this is how we've kind of learned and went through it. I hope
yes,
this answers.
And I understand your point, but for sure, for the other people who are listening to us, even if they don't have the $100 million idea, but still, it's good to know this. So later on, they are building their startup, then this is the aim that they put that towards, moving toward it. Thank you, Khalid. And always, I always like to, move from Khalid to Marwan and vice versa, because we have the entrepreneurial, point of view, and then so going.
It's because we are both in Canada.
So
I like what you said, Khalid. The safe is something we definitely use, and it solves a very big problem for us. But certain entrepreneurs, some of them are not mature enough actually to think of the economic value of their transaction and the product. And some of these people are actually, they know what they want, they have a problem to solve, a business to target, and they really don't think global yet. And we work with those. We're fine. That's why when you asked me, I did not mention global when I mentioned the criteria we look for, but it is something that we believe should go global if it is disruptive enough and the market conditions allow it. But we also, 20% of our pipeline is local. 80% of our pipeline is actually international. So we make transactions in the US, we make transactions in Asia, we make joint transactions in various places. So in Qatar, it is something different, and I think we should have $1 billion product for sure, and 100 million, but there's going to be very few of those, and we should not discourage the rest.
Yes, we already, it's already 5:03 p.m. So we will be starting asking some of the questions that we already had. Marwan, why would you go for angel investment, and why is not something else?
What is something else?
What could be, for example, real estate?
Oh, you mean why would I do it as a?
Yes.
Well, I never. I'm not a good flipper. I don't know how to flip real estate. No, I have passion for startups, and I've worked with startups all my life. And many of my friends from college have now billion-dollar companies, and they connect with me. And I see a lot of things. When I retired from the banking sector, the thing that brought me back is entrepreneurship. So I went to Carnegie Mellon University. I took a course for entrepreneurship and innovation, so understand a little more what this means. Okay, sophisticated banking was not something that you can apply to entrepreneurs. So and that's why I would say don't take a loan if you're an entrepreneur. Come for an angel investor. And we're making good money, to be honest. It's very, very profitable. We are passionate about it if the entrepreneur is passionate about it.
Yes, another question. How an angel investor makes money? What's the...
Well, usually we invest our own money. So we don't collect money from anyone else. So to give you an example, DTA is made up of 15 members in an investment club, which is registered at Qatar Financial Center. This is our own money. So we cannot raise money from the public. We have to work with our own money, and that's our limitation. When this money is invested, usually we make the money when we exit at the end of transaction, and it takes usually 3 years. We also do a revaluation of the assets. So if there was a transaction, it was a safe agreement, and then a Series A came and the company was valued at $30 million, we take that reflection in our books. So our books grow in value as companies grow in value. And if companies go bankrupt, again, we take it down. But alhamdulillah, so far our net has been, 80% of the companies we invested in are still alive and growing, alhamdulillah. Many of them have, during COVID-19, have seen tremendous growth due to their models.
Thank you, Marwan. Salma, based on your experience, what are the key messages for individuals who wants to be angel investors and as well as the entrepreneurs?
Thank you. I would like to just shortly go back to the question on why would you want to have an angel investor, and that is answering also that question. In general, an entrepreneur wants to have that business angel on board. If you do the right due diligence, if you choose wisely your angel investors, then you want to have these people on board because they bring in not only the money, but they bring the knowledge and the experience and the network, which if you take a loan, you just have the money. And this is a huge difference. Usually I have a friend of mine who's a very successful entrepreneur, had a very successful exit. And he said, I wanted to be able to go on holidays with my business angel. So you want to share the same values, you want to have the same attitude toward growth and how you do the business, and this is something you really want to have. One thing in terms of the size of tickets and the equity, we have with us in Austria, we have the rule that the business angel should never ever have more equity, a higher percentage than the founders. This has two reasons. The founders need to be motivated to continue. And secondly, we will have other options to raise money. You will have to raise more money. And if you have too much of a stake, then the founders will not be motivated. So it's not something, as an angel investor, you don't want to have really high levels. You better, count it because we will have other rounds. Marwan, congratulations that you have such a good, percentage. I mean, we have to be aware investing as an angel investor is 100% risk. You can lose that, but the passion, the fun, the story, the journey of entrepreneurship, being part of something, being part of creating something that never existed before is so much bigger than just the money. It is, a colleague of mine talks always about the return on fun. And that is so important. Of course, it is about making money, no question, but it's so much more than money. And I think that is the reason why people start investing as angel investors, is because of this entrepreneurial spirit, because you can help entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs in terms not necessarily of age, but because they're starting something, you can do something, you can help, you can use all your brain and your knowledge. And as you mentioned, Marwan, you left banking and, what do I do now? Well, this is the best use of your knowledge, of your experience. And I think this is a very good two-way street, which in addition, because to me, entrepreneurship is about solving real life problems. And then you find yourself as an entrepreneur and as a business angel, really creating something of purpose and something that is creating a better tomorrow, a better world. And I think that is the combination that is so exciting about being an entrepreneur, being an angel investor, and creating startups that are moving things, on a global scale or not on a global scale, but really scaling and making a difference. And I see that as the main reason, to get involved. It's very simple as an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur and if there is a problem that really drives you crazy and you wake up every single day with that problem, and one day you decide, I'm going to solve that problem, that is when you become an entrepreneur. You create a company to solve the problem, and then you build a network around you. So that's entrepreneurship.
Yeah, Selma, another question for you is what makes the Austrian Angel Investment Association unique from other angel investment associations?
Well, I think it's not such a point of really being uniqueness, of being different. It's about learning from the others. And we are here in Austria more as a federation of other networks. So we have other networks that are members of our network, but it's not about comparison. It is about how we can learn from each other and be better. We invest a lot of time to teach other networks from our experience and how they can become better and to learn, because we need each other. As it was mentioned, you know, the money of business angels is not the single investment, is not such a big ticket. So you need this global or European or cross-border, or however you want, cooperation to be able to invest into startups. So I think that we are definitely, I mean, it's not I think, we are definitely the trust network in Austria for business angels. We represent our ecosystem in the best way possible on European level and on a global level. So yeah, we work a lot.
Thank you, Salma. Moving to Mohammed, this question is for Mohammed. The startups that did not get funded from QDB, can you nominate angel investor to their board?
Yes, thank you, Mahmoud. So I think we do have actually a connection with Dohatic angels and other angels, but most of them, if they do have a term sheet, I mean, they can approach us and we can talk to, Marwan and the other colleagues from Dohatic angels or other angels in Qatar. But usually, I mean, even if they are they haven't been part of any QDB program, whether it's incubation or acceleration, they can still apply for our الاستثمار program, which is the venture fund, the $100 million fund. They can apply into this program and their case will be looked at, and we will get back to them. So they have many channels actually for fundraising here in Qatar.
That sounds good. Mahmoud, you're on mute.
Thank you, Mohammed. Last question is for Khalid. Why more angel investors tend to invest in tech projects rather than other projects not involving tech?
I think they will answer, but from entrepreneurs, it's because of the business model. And this is why I mentioned, like, is it $100 million company or not? Typically, angels need at least 25x, 50x on their return. So if they give you $50,000, they need it to be multiply that by 25. I'm not that fast in math, but you get the point. They need it more than $500,000 back. That at the least, and Marwan and Selma can confirm or deny what I'm saying, but that's kind of the practice. That's why it goes back to business models. Every financing tool is meant for something. Why banks give loans? Because this is how they make money. And there are certain customers for that. Angels, they spoke why, Marwan and Selma, they spoke why they are into angel investing. And it's one type of investing, one type of growing capital. And the reason why is because they need high returns. And tech ensures that. Technology ensures high returns. It's rare that you see angel investors, for example, in a food chain, which happens. Like, there are angel investors in food chains, for example, but that's really rare. And typically there is very strong trust kind of bond that is established. And there is a belief in the vision, but because of the return, that's the business model of angel investors.
Thank you, Khalid.
I would just like to add to that, there are all sorts of business angels. And of course, we are here talking about this tech because this is the most popular. But I mean, they are, business angels in terms of early stage investors who are investing only in horses. And still, all businesses that are about horses and not just, So, I mean, there are many, many ways. And I think that every entrepreneur and every startup needs to think about what is that, as Khalid said, and Marwan, what is your business? What do you need? And then to find the corresponding people who can help you get there.
We aim to survive, number one. We want our portfolio to survive as a whole. Because, you know, the market conditions and the kind of risks that come with startups and innovation is big. So survival for us is very important. The ability to be able to flip this money into more investments. But I have not heard 25 times, although I would love that. And I haven't reached that yet. But currently our average is 200% a year. But that is our current average. It could change next year to less. If I was investing in something, I would look for 100% return on my capital every year, you know, built on over 5 years.
Thank you all. I think both of you wanted to say something on this regard, which shows that really you are into it and you love being the ecosystem of angel investment. Mr. Abdulaziz, you honored us for the introduction speech, and I think it will be also lovely if you will end it up and say anything that you would like to share with us.
Thank you, Mahmoud. Thanks. I think we all enjoyed hearing what Selma, Marwan, Khalid, and also Muhammad have to add into how entrepreneurs actually look at angel investment, how angels look at opportunities, and how the attributes of angels and the way they actually invest into companies. From Qatar Development Bank, wearing the government perspective, we believe that it's always best if we nurture and help those angels find entrepreneurs and help entrepreneurs find these angel investors. We're trying our best through the networks, through the training of the angels. I'm a firm believer that in our local culture also, we have a lot of angel investment. Normally, there is Qatari investors who would invest into companies, into startups, and they would normally do it by either lending or actually giving the money and helping startups, but it wasn't structured. And what we're trying to do is to help them structure that know-how, helping them having the link created and widening that net for finding opportunities. Adding to what Muhammad have said earlier regarding Qatar Business Incubation Center and linking the entrepreneurs or the angels with the opportunities, our demo days, our demonstration days for entrepreneurs and startups is a great way for angels to find opportunities. And normally through Qatar Business Incubation Center website, we also open the door for interested angel investors to log in their interest, and they would normally be contacted to attend our demonstration days. So that's an open invitation. I've really enjoyed the additions that Selma brought into the table from a global perspective on what they have done amazingly over there and how they've started from 2012 onward. I've enjoyed my dear friend Marwan's story and how they're actually managing to do a lot in Doha. I know that we're also pushing a lot of business their way, and I hope that they're able to help those startups. My dear friend Khalid Bujassoum, I've been there from the start, and I know what he has been through and what he's going through. Is an amazing individual, and I did enjoy what he had said, and I know that there is a huge learning. I always bid him Khalid, and I always tell him that you have to give back to Qatar through knowledge sharing, and he have always been there sharing what he have went through, and I think this is also part of the community that we're trying to create here. Mohammed is a great individual within our team at Qatar Development Bank, and our investment team is trying their best to help entrepreneurs gain access to angel investment and investment overall as a vehicle of access to finance. Thank you, Mahmoud, for the great moderation of this, and I hope that we managed to answer all of the questions of the people who have joined us. If not, our doors are always open. Wear a mask and gloves if you're coming. But we're also open to receive questions and answer virtually through different means and different channels. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
يعطيكم العافية. مع السلامة.
الله
السلام.
Thank you Salma. Thank you بن ناصر.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you عبد العزيز. Bye.